Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning for Transition Tuesday, leveraging Indeed for your job search. My name is Bailey Ranella. I am a program manager for the Hiring Our Heroes Corporate Fellowship Program. I manage the St. Louis program. And joining us today, we have Andrew Dennis from Indeed. He is the Senior Strategist in Military and Veterans Program. So he will walk us through everything that you need to know as a job seeker for Indeed. We do ask that you utilize the Q&A function at the bottom. If you have any questions, we'll probably hold most of those questions until the end. But feel free to type in if anything comes to mind that you'd like Andrew to answer live for you. And then also, this session is being recorded and will be available on the Hiring Our Heroes Career Community website. And you can find the link to that in the chat function. So that'll be posted in a few days here. So without further ado, let's welcome Andrew to get started here.
Awesome. Thanks, Bailey. Pleasure to be here. Transition Tuesday is always my favorite time of the week, where I get to help all of you navigate Indeed.com and all the resources that we have, just to make a little bit of sense of all the different directions that we can go in. Today's presentation is just going to be very high level and just showing you a little bit of everything as you transition and look for your next job. So our motto here at Indeed is we help people get jobs. This is something that we take near and dear to the heart. We're always going to put the job seeker first. So that's something that we'll be showing you throughout the presentation, and also, how do we set up job seekers for success when employers are looking to hire veteran talent as well. And we'll just kick it off with a short
Part of the reason
video.
I joined the Air Force is I love airplanes. I've wanted to fly since I was very young. I really loved every minute of my Air Force career. The camaraderie, the excitement, the mission. One of the greatest jobs I had in the Air Force was explosive ordnance disposal. September 11th, I was part of President Bush's security team. I was with him at the elementary school in Florida when the airplanes crashed into the Twin Towers. I spent 20 years in the Air Force and finally decided it was time to make that transition into the civilian world. I didn't know where to start. I started to look at my options. What could I do to get my name out there? And I heard a lot of publicity for Indeed. And so I said, well, let's start there. As I was creating my profile, they had a box that I could check that says, I am a U.S. military veteran. Indeed then generated numerous questions that helped me translate my military experience into something a civilian would understand. What kind of leadership experience do you have? What kind of things did you do while you're on active duty? Then I could do a job search. My children were living in Colorado Springs, and I was looking for that area where I could begin to really, truly do my hobbies as much as I wanted. And through Indeed, I could say, okay, I want to do construction project management in Colorado Springs. Apply with a single click where it would take my pre-built resume and send it right to the company. I was able to get a new job, purchase a home, and become part of the community. I love the outdoors. I love to go hiking, climbing, skiing. Now being able to share that with my children, that's a precious gift. My name is Travis Scheel. I retired after 20 years in the United States Air Force as a lieutenant colonel. I was fortunate to find my civilian career through Indeed.com.
Awesome. So what you heard in the video is the ability to really understand, what do you want to do next and where do you want to do it, and then make the actions and put the right steps in place to get to the place where he was able to find, what job he wanted to do, and he wanted to move to Colorado, so he made that happen. For today's agenda, we're going to go into why Indeed, starting your job search, finding work during COVID-19, which is a pretty crazy time for everybody. involved in this. Looking at some of the data that we have behind the numbers to make sense of it all, go over a quick resume build-in exercise, and then also how to search for veteran-ready companies. So there's over 1.76 million job seekers with military experience on the Indeed platform today. Um, they trust coming to Indeed because of all of the opportunities that are on the site. 1.5 million companies on Indeed in the U.S. alone, and about almost 400,000 veterans are contacted each month on our platform now. So that number has actually grown by 70,000 contacts, which is awesome to see. When it comes to our resume database, employers are actually able to access and connect with veterans at no cost, where it actually costs them contacts to reach out to civilians. So again, when we're going with the theme of putting the job seeker first, we even go above and beyond to help the veteran community or the military community as they're searching for a job. We open up those opportunities for employers to connect. And there's about 1.1 million jobs that specifically target military talent on the Indeed platform. So we're going to do a quick job search, and this is very relevant to the video that you all just saw. When he was looking for a job, he had to decide what he wanted to do and where he wanted to do it. Indeed is very simple. It's a search engine, and we're an aggregator. So what that means is we're pulling in all of the jobs from every website that we're able to crawl and make sure that if the job is open in the US, we're going to have it on this site. Now, what you need to do on your end is really just understand, what do you want to do and where do you want to do it? This comes down to making a quick checklist of, what jobs would you be good at? What titles should you use? Where should you move? What salary range should you expect? And then what experience level are you? And you're going to really want to search, refine, and repeat this process over and over again. So you're able to kind of narrow down the right job and the right fit. So when it comes to program management in the United States, you're able to put in program management. And if you don't know where you want to move yet, or if you want to relocate, you're able to leave the where blank. You're able to put in the keywords remote, or a location of your choosing to see what jobs are getting pulled into the system for you to find out. So here's an example of a quick search for program manager. For the where, we left it blank. As you see up there, you're able to do city, state, zip code, or the actual quotes of remote. So one of the things to keep in mind is you always want to see how many jobs are available. If you're a program manager, you want to move back to Iowa, how many jobs are coming up in the search? Is there opportunity in that area? Or should you just search some other locations to see what's the available inventory for those positions? When you also leave the where blank, it gives you the ability to see what states, what counties, what municipalities are really hiring for those types of positions. The key things to keep in mind are all of the little icons that you see kind of highlighted in the red boxes over here. When you're applying to some of these jobs, it's going to say apply with your Indeed resume. It could say that this is a responsive employer, which means that the employer has a very high response rate in returning a yes or a no to those candidates as they apply. And then also there's companies that are urgently hiring, especially during COVID-19. So if you need a job tomorrow, these are sometimes the companies that you want to look out for. You also have the ability to go up here and, again, search, refine, and repeat, date posted, remote, salary, job type, location, company, experience level. If for whatever reason you are applying to job after job after job and you're just not hearing back, from the employer, and I know it happens often. Maybe you're searching for the wrong job. Maybe you're slightly out of the experience level or the location or what have you. That's a somewhat of an indication that maybe you should go back, refine the search, and maybe make those adjustments. So again, you don't want to pigeonhole yourself down certain areas. So if there's three things to remember, you really want to just search, refine, repeat, find that sweet spot, see what type of jobs are you getting that response back to, and then you know your resume is on point, your experience levels on point, and recruiters are interested in you. And one of the things that everybody in the economy is kind of going through is the COVID-19 updates. Temporary business closures, shift in hiring practices, mandated remote work, companies opening their doors, closing their doors, work from home, don't work from home. There's a lot going on, and it's kind of tough to keep up with all the changes. So we have a COVID-19 dedicated site on Indeed that's going to be available as a resource as well, just to make sure that you guys are all up to date with what's going on. One of the things that we have on that site is a search functionality similar to exactly what we just saw before, but we did a lot of the heavy lifting and put in, the top searches that are going on right now. Companies that are hiring immediately, remote jobs, what are essential businesses, and then you see delivery driver, nursing, Amazon, Walmart, Walgreens. Those are the top three companies that are hiring right now. And then for the folks that are looking to join a company and want to have that interview and start speaking to the recruiters, you're able to even type in Indeed hiring events. By doing so, you're able to RSVP to virtual events similar to what we're doing here, but you're able to actually speak with the employer as they hold these around the country. So that's something else to check out too, to see if there's any Indeed hiring events in your location. If you're ready to work today, you're able to actually add that to your resume as well. Over 377% increase. I think the total is 4 million people worldwide have added ready to work to their resume. So there's a lot of job seekers that are putting this in there. And then on the employer side, they're able to filter and find those folks who are ready to work. So a great way to get in front of an employer today. And when we look at some of the data that we're able to collect on our end, it really comes down to having 60 million unique visitors per month on our platform. And by doing so, now you have millions upon millions of data points that we can gather from job seekers and employers and make sense of all of it to both. One thing that we like to do here is show trends, show the data, show what's happening in real time. One thing that we've seen for COVID-19, where some industries are really struggling to find the right talent, some other industries are actually attracting more job seekers than they did before the pandemic. So the top jobs that you see up here: nursing, software development, driving, loading and stocking, construction. Those were all industries that pre-COVID-19 were having an extremely hard time to find the right talent. Whereas hospitality, tourism, food prep, childcare, those were industries that were getting an abundance of job seekers. So just seeing that flip-flop really presents to you, what are the industry changes that we're seeing, so it makes sense. Everyone is now put in work from home and remote work, whether in their resume or employers are putting that in the job descriptions. So we've been seeing a huge increase in that. I think that's a benefit to the military community. I think it's a benefit to military spouses that have always wanted the ability to really work from home or work remotely as they move. around the country. Employers are now opening up to that option because there really is no other way for many jobs. So it's a great opportunity to really work for a company that was maybe out of your reach before, location-wise, but now you're able to work there. And you can just see the type of increase that we've seen from job seekers, similar to all of you. Work from home, immediate work. Everything on our website is done by keyword. So putting in those keywords is really going to pull in different results every time you search, refine, and repeat. So we've seen an increase in warehouse roles, and that's blue collar and white collar roles. So not only the forklift operators, floor managers, and those types of positions, but when it comes to logistics, supply chain, operations, that's an increase as well. So it's almost 10% on both sides, which is good to see, because as you think of how our supplies get in from point A to point B, the military is an expert at that. And that is also why a lot of these companies want to hire the military community to work those positions. When it comes to driver positions, we've seen that increase as well. So once goods and items leave a warehouse, how are they going to get from point A to point B to a hospital, business, or a home? We need drivers. So that's something that's in demand right now, and it's CDL as well as delivery. And then for any of the folks on the call who are in tech and software development roles, we've seen a big increase from these job seekers on our platform with the amount of searches and clicks that they're doing. This is great for employers that maybe hiring tech talent was a little too expensive or just out of their reach. Now they're seeing that more and more of this talent is on the platform, which could have that effect of trying to scoop them up while that talent is there. So definitely want to get your resume on and just see what type of employment opportunities can come your way. And then it's great to see that we've seen job seekers searching for more medical roles as well as RNs. We need nurses and medical professionals more than ever. So it's great to see that they're coming to Indeed and trying to find those vacant positions. And then some of the data that I like the most to share with you all is, what are the veterans doing? What are we seeing from this population during COVID-19? One thing that we've seen is 33% of searches made by veterans on Indeed are for jobs in cities outside of where they're currently located. So for those folks who are in Fort Campbell, we're seeing a lot of searches for, other opportunities, maybe Chicago, New York, or Austin. Or for the folks, at Fort Hood, maybe they're not searching Killeen, but they're actually searching San Antonio or Austin or other locations. So it's okay to search in areas where you're not located. And that's where we see done more so by the veteran community than civilians. These are also some of the top 20 jobs that we've seen veterans engaged with on our platform: installation and maintenance, management, administration, and then the positions that we kind of went over before: drivers, warehouse, med techs, tech info, and help. Again, these are really important positions during COVID-19, and we've seen the military community really step up to fill those gaps. So once you have a better understanding of how to search, finding out what positions are available in the current marketplace, now building your resume, which seemingly could be a daunting task, we're trying to make it as easy possible for you all on the call today. What you're able to do on Indeed is create one master resume. So you can upload your resume, or you can start creating your resume from scratch on the Indeed platform. This one resume that you have on the platform is the one that's going to be visible to recruiters. So you want to make sure that you have applicable experience, relevant keywords, and specific and soft and hard skills on your resume. The way recruiters are able to find you is put in keywords. If they're looking for a logistics manager, then they're going to search for logistics manager. If you have 92 Alpha on your resume without having logistics manager on there, there's a good chance that you're not going to be seen. Good chance that the recruiter won't be able to find you and reach out to you with opportunities. So you want to make sure that this is going to be your civilian resume. You want to keep the keywords that you're searching for yourself, logistics manager, then those are the words that you want to have in your resume so they're able to find you. So quick little cutout here of a logistical specialist, 92 Alpha. When you want to show up on the search page, you want to have logistics manager in there. You want to have the city of where you want to work. If you're ready to work, you're able to add that. That's what that looks like. But you're also able to put down here within your profile, willing to relocate in the 3 places that you're looking for work as well. So those are things that you're able to do to really show the recruiter that you're open to other opportunities. So say you're torn in between 2 different types of roles. Say maybe an account executive where you're more in a sales capacity, and then there's account manager where you're more of the day-to-day maintenance of an account after it's been sold. So how do you kind of show a recruiter that you're open for both? One way to do so, again, for your one master resume on Indeed, you want to make sure that you have those keywords. You want to make sure that you're taking your X number of years in the military, condensing that into a very easy, simple, digestible way that a recruiter can understand why you're the best fit for that role. But you should be creating 2 different resumes. Create one, save it, download it on your computer. So when you go and apply to a sales position, you can use that specific resume. And then if you're going to apply to an account manager position, you can upload that specific resume and you don't have to use your Indeed resume. So, that's something that we typically get the most questions on. But you can have as many resumes as you want on your computer. You can only have one in our system. And when you are done creating a resume, we actually have pre-built resume templates that's a part of the profile. So you're able to download those into any type of form that you want, whether it's HR or IT or federal. You're able to download those resumes pre-built with all the information that you put in. So again, put in the job seeker first, making sure you don't have to buy any other services to create those resumes to make sure it's in the format that you want. And one thing that you're able to do is add your military service to your Indeed profile. By doing so, any company that is veteran ready, looking for military talent, they're able to easily find you, through all the noise. They're able to target you with opportunities that they need filled, and they're able to kind of segment you out with the civilians, which is up to your benefit. The way employers are also able to reach out to you is through our resume database. And again, by having military service in your profile, this is what is going to show up on the employer side. For instance, logistics manager, Austin, Texas, free to contact with subscription. That's for the employer. Recently updated is also something that's going to keep their eyes on that. So say you already have a position or you're even 6 months out or 3 months out, updating your profile regularly will keep you at the top of the bunch. And again, this is what it looks like for an employer. So you want to make sure that it's very simple. They're able to see everything that you've done in an easy manner so they can make those judgment decisions to reach out. And another way to stand out from civilians is, are you up for relocation? More veterans checked off that they're open to relocation than civilians. And then also, do you have security clearance? Have you had a security clearance, or do you have a current one? You're able to put that information in the certifications and license section. And that's a huge advantage over civilians given how hard it is to get a clearance. So if you're unsure of how to highlight your qualifications or still unsure of where you really want to go or where your skill sets lie, you're able to take assessments. By doing so, you're able to show an employer if you're highly proficient, to show that you do have the skills, the background, the knowledge to do the job at hand. So some of the assessments I took on here is management, leadership skills, planning and execution, as well as leadership situations. If you become highly proficient in them, you're able to post it to your resume. If you bomb the assessment and you don't do a great job on that, you're able to not show employers that. One of the things that employers like to do is send you assessments. So highly recommend going in, taking as many assessments as you want or can. Just get ready for what type of assessments that an employer might send you prior or post interview. And once your resume is live on the Indeed platform and employers are reaching out, you're able to confirm interest, say maybe later, or decline. If you decline an employer, they cannot see any of your information. They won't know your name. They won't have any of your contact info, so you're not going to get spammed by them. But when, say, you're getting emails for a job that might not be the best fit for you, but you're still a little shaky on the interview process, I would always suggest confirm interest, have a conversation with that employer, see what type of questions they're going to ask. It better prepares you for further down the road. And you never know if just starting that conversation with that employer and tell them that's not a great fit for me. Maybe the other positions I saw on your website would be a better fit. That could open up new doors for you as well. So it doesn't hurt to confirm. And then some of the deal breakers that we did a poll for HR professionals and just asked them, what are the things that you don't want to see on a resume? Key information or sections missing. That was number one. Resumes don't list the matching skills for the role. One way to ensure that you're doing that is if any job you start looking at before you apply, if you were to do Control F and type in the title of the job or a specific keyword, just see how many times it shows up in the job description. That is really going to show you that they are putting those keywords in the description, and those are the keywords that you should have in your resume as well. And then when it comes to spelling and grammar, there's a lot of different tools out there that are going to spell check for you. I highly recommend Grammarly. It's free. Take advantage of that. And then really no excuse for having a poorly formatted resume, given that we could put your resume in a format that is HR approved. And then some other things to consider in here is have a really professional email. I've seen some crazy emails through my travels with HOH and some of the transition folks. So, Gmail is always good. It won't date you as well. And just having, your name broken up in that format can really help the employer see who you are. And then you want to make sure that you have contact info You want to have descriptions of where you worked previously, and then authorization and job specific trade skills. This is really one of the most important things. If you're applying for a logistics manager position or operations position, have the keywords in your resume. A lot of software that employers use are really good to search for keywords first. If they don't see any, you could be passed up. And then some of the things that aren't really as important are those objective, desired position, or headlines at the top of a resume. They're really going to go right eyeballs to your experience and just see if you have the skill sets that are needed for this job. So once you get an interview, some things that you really want to consider is coordinate, research, prepare for this interview. Only 2% of applicants are even considered viable for an interview. So if you do have one, you stood out. Now is your time to shine. You have to do your research. You have to list a bunch of questions down so you're prepared. As you see in this picture here, pens, pencils, lists, graphs, data. Be prepared. Show that you've done your research, that you're excited to work for this company, and have a list of questions that you want to ask them too. Remember, companies are doing a lot of research on you. You want to do the same on the company, and bring up points that are valid for the position that you're applying to. And also keep your social media channels professional, probably more so than ever. A lot of things going on in the news, a lot of crazy things, and just keeping your social channels in a professional manner is really going to help. They're going to do their research on you. And then when you're having that interview, you want to make sure that you have a good setting, appearance, and demeanor. 3 things to always consider. One, are you in a location where it's going to be very noisy? Are there windows behind you? Are you going to get a glare? What is the lighting situation? Then when it comes to appearance, dress for the role that you want, dress for success. It depends on, what type of company you're applying to, but you really want to fit the role that you're applying to. So as you see here, shirt, no tie, jacket, professional. And then what's your demeanor? Are you sitting up straight? Keep an eye contact. Are you looking at your cell phone? These are all things that somebody can really pick up even on a Zoom or a video conference. So kind of looking at that checklist, if you don't have a virtual background, remove the clutter. Make sure that you're eliminating old distractions. I know it's very tough, especially if you have kids running around or dogs. My dog is always barking because he's a schnauzer. So sometimes I have treats on my desk. So he just sits there and looks at those all day and doesn't really make a sound. So, you got to be flexible. You got to plan. You got to think of all these things. If stuff does happen, apologize, remedy the situation, which I know you guys are all really good at. Continue or reschedule. Notifying the employer if you're having internet troubles or anything else. So really to round out the presentation, it comes down to doing your research. Research what jobs are out there. Research what regions are hiring the most. Research what companies are hiring. See if they're going to be a good fit. See if they're veteran ready. Understand, what type of organization that you're about to join. One way for doing so is checking out company pages. If you all are familiar with Glassdoor or other services that have company pages, Indeed actually has more company pages than any other site. We actually Glassdoor is our sister company. So when it comes to aggregating this data and bringing everything into one place, one-stop shop for your search and research, you can do so very easily. Wells Fargo is an example I like to use. They have a great veteran initiative there. They have that information in the Why Join Us. You're also able to look at reviews, salaries, photos, what jobs are available, Q&A. You can go through those and see what other questions people asked, as well as understanding their interview. This is also what it looks like for Wells Fargo on our platform. They're trying to get their jobs in front of veterans because they have a great initiative where relevant military experience is considered to transition in servicemen and women. They highlight that in their job descriptions. They highlight that in the job advertisements that they're putting on there. And they're also able to put these directly in front of the veteran community to engage with you all. And the recruiters on the other end are also experts in the field as well. So the people that you will be talking to understand your background, your skills that you bring to the table. And that could be a good experience for you. And then the question that I think comes up the most, or is always the one of most controversy, is the salary expectations. Civilian salaries, military salaries, sometimes they're not really apples to apples. So you want to do your research. You want to find out, what is the base salary for the type of industry that you're going in? What is the base salary for the type of industry you're going in that location? New York City is definitely different than Des Moines, Iowa. Those salaries are going to, probably be $20K of a difference just because of living expenses. So you want to make sure that you're doing the research and just seeing, what is that norm base salary I should be looking for, and then you can kind of go from there. And then when it comes to resources on Indeed, one thing that I love to show is over a 6-year study with Silk Road, Indeed has delivered about 65% of all the hires made in the US from online sources. So whenever you think of job boards as being a black hole, this study really kind of gives you a little bit more peace of mind that it leads to the most hires. By having 1.5 million employers on the Indeed platform and over 60 million unique visitors per month, this is where employers go to post their jobs. This is where employers go to make their hires. So get in a good position on this website can really help you all get not only contacted or targeted by companies looking to hire veterans, but you're also able to search for the companies that want to hire you as well. And when it comes to resources, veterans.indeed.com is going to be your best site when it comes to understanding how to build a resume. We even have a resume review service on that site. It is free to any transitioning military, veteran, or military spouse. So spread the word. Take advantage of it today. Civilians have to pay for it. It's $14 out of pocket. But what we do for the military community is we have you fill out a form. Tell us what you want to do next. Tell us what you did in the military, and we'll make sense of it for you and send back a 10-minute video to educate you on what changes should be made to your resume to give you a little bit more or put you in a better place than you might have been before. And this is the service we were talking about before. It's been battle tested by somebody who used to lead Soldiers for Life. So, as he's making his transition, he's really able to understand what opportunities are out there, what did he do in his military career, and how to make sense of it on his resume. That's typically the toughest aspect of anyone's transition, and we're here to help. And then we'll also be sending out a ton of different links, but on veterans.indeed.com, here's really everything that you're able to have at your fingertips, whether it's still resume writing, how to target a resume, get professional help, preparing for those interviews, or even finding the top veteran-ready companies. We're here to help. So without further ado, we'd love to open it up for Q&A. Any questions that you guys have, hopefully I can answer them. If I wasn't able to get to any of your questions, feel free to find me on LinkedIn, and we're always here to help.
Awesome, Drew. That was a lot of great information. We've got a quick question that you just talked about, but can you repeat the link again for the resume review service?
Yeah, if you go to veterans.indeed.com, on the right-hand side, you'll see the veteran resume review service. Perfect.
And then we had a question earlier, back when you were talking about resume writing. You had mentioned listing your availability date on your resume. Can you explain a little further, like, especially for those transitioning, how they should do those availability dates based on their different leaves and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to the job seeker too. What most employers suggest is, and what we find to be very helpful, if you're 12 months out, you want to ensure that you have your resume on Indeed. If you're 6 months out, you want to make sure that it's tailored to the types of positions that you want to go after. If you're 3 months out, you should have that you're pretty much available, because the interview process, going through sometimes 3 or 4 or 5 different interviews, is going to take some time, and then offer letters, negotiations, start dates, 3 months burns up pretty quickly. So by putting your availability date, that's great if you're about 4 months to 18 months out. You could put that on your resume. But if you're 2 months out or getting out in 30 days, you want to make sure that you just have, you're ready to roll, and then you bring that up to the recruiter when it's time.
Perfect. Yeah, and that was in line with the different question that we had, as far as how far out do you recommend job searches for those retiring from the military? So I guess that could even be, when do you recommend they start researching different industries and careers and options?
As soon as possible, right? What harm does it do to just, sit in front of the TV and just do research, find out what companies are hiring, which companies are military ready, what industries, if you're already set on where you want to move, what industries are there. And then by understanding what jobs are there is really going to set you up for success on how do you sit there, think of your 20, 24 years of military experience, and now position your resume to be in line with the jobs that you're about to apply to. That's what it comes down to. Recruiters don't have enough time to look at 24 years of military experience and then make sense of it and try to fit you into their org. What you're going to have to do is do your research, understand these companies, and then how does your military experience fit into their positions that are open. And I think that's kind of the mindset that you want to have every time you look into the positions. So how to best, position yourself, and just taking that experience and making sense of it.
Perfect. That's kind of also in line with the next question of, do you recommend including a job where I worked for 2 weeks?
No. No. And I was on a job for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. I left that company because it wasn't a good cultural fit for me, which is, important. I should have probably done a little bit more research. on my end. But that's not on my resume. It's not on my LinkedIn. And I hope my employer is not hearing this now, but no, it's fine to keep those off. But when you do have a gap in your resume, you want to make sure that you're able to explain it, and you want to explain any gap in your resume or anytime you've left the company in a very short period of time in the most positive manner, and not be negative. Nobody wants to hire anybody negative or hear them complain, but just say, hey, was it a good fit? I wanted to get out of there and find a company that's going to be a better cultural fit for me. That's spinning everything in a positive light. And it just, you want to show them that you're excited to work for the company that you're applying or interviewing for, and not really bring up bad past experiences.
Great. Now over to the military spouse side. Would you recommend military spouses specify that they're a military spouse on their resume? If so, how would you put it in there?
Yeah, great question. Whoever asked that, if you can even just send that to me on LinkedIn, I would love to send that to my team over here, because that's an issue that we're hitting head on at this moment. The entire industry has really made a great shift in hiring military spouses. We work for a company like United Rentals, where they're able to hire military spouses, and if you were to move across the country, they'll set you up in a location close to where you're going to move. Not every organization is like that. So it's really up to the user, the candidate, to add if they're a military spouse on their resume or not. We're trying to do it in a way where we don't want anybody to be discriminated against for having a military spouse on their resume. So it's a very tricky one that we're trying to handle, because say you have a spouse on your resume and there's 30 companies that really want to hire you, and there's 10 companies that see military spouse and they automatically pass you up. That's not putting the job seeker first. That's not, we help people get jobs. So that's something that we're very kind of back and forth on. How do we do it in a way that you're not going to get discriminated against, but in a way that companies can still target you? So it's really up to your discretion. Sometimes maybe keep it off and then let them know that you're a military spouse if they bring it up. If they bring up, hey, why have you moved 4 different places? Be like, oh, I'm a military spouse, but really explain whether you're going to move again or you're not. That really comes up to your discretion as well.
Yeah, so that's in line with the next question of for military spouses that potentially have large gaps in their work history, how should they fill that? How should they tell that story?
Yeah, that's something that we're handling at Indeed as well, is really making sense of the gaps. People have families, people travel. If you were to get stationed in Germany, I know it's very hard to find work there. So many of the military spouses cannot work. So you might have an 8 to 18 month gap on your resume. That's something to maybe highlight. What did you do during that time? What type of volunteer experience did you do? What type of groups did you work with? Did you just put in really anything during that time period? And then maybe highlighting that you're a military spouse, you were in this location and you couldn't find work, or if it's a bigger gap and you have a family that you raised, you could put that. And I think making sense of it straightforward and outright to the employer is a lot better than having gaps and not explaining why there's an 8-year gap on a resume. Because if they have any questions, they might just skip over you.
Great. You had also earlier mentioned about the number of veterans that are looking for a career. What was that number again that you use Indeed?
The number that we're able to share is it's 1.8 now. So 1.8 million self-identified job seekers with military experience in their resume. We have many more than that. But again, if you're not putting in your military service in your resume, then we can't infer that you have that. So we can't help employers find you. So that's why it's important. Those numbers have dramatically increased since partnering with Hiring Our Heroes and really helping the military community out. So it's great to see more of the community coming to Indeed during transition and post transition than finding out about Indeed, a few years down the road.
So with that, what do you recommend for veterans that are willing to relocate? How would you advise them to narrow their search for the where portion of the search?
You got to play around with it. When we were at Schofield in Hawaii, a lot of folks came up to me and say, hey, I want to do IT. And it's like, but where? I don't know, where are the jobs? By doing a quick search for just IT in the what section, you're going to see all the results populate, and you can just start going through them and seeing, all right, California came up 10 times, or, Pennsylvania came up, 15 times. And then in the refinement section, what you're able to do as well is put location, and it's going to list out the top 5, top 10 locations that are coming up by bulk of where these positions are. So if you have a very niche position, say cybersecurity, you're going to want to be in an area where you're able to do cyber. And that area is going to be, very limited. So you want to do, again, find out, are you going to live in Maryland, Virginia, California, Austin? Where are those positions? So just keep searching and just playing around with it until you start seeing, the repetition of, okay, these jobs are really in abundance in that location.
Perfect. Next question. How would you recap job information for jobs more than 20 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, that's typically the rule of thumb is typically you want to go back 10 years, right? 20 years ago, what type of job did you do, and is it still relevant? Really what you want to do is, whether you have 5 years experience or 50 years experience, why are you the best candidate for the position? That's something to kind of write down and underline and bold and highlight. Why are you the best candidate for the position? If you did something 20 years ago and you haven't done it since, does that really make you the best candidate for the position? So you want to understand, what is everything that you have in your toolkit, and how do you position it in a way that's going to make you the best candidate for that position? If it is experienced 20 years ago, and you have a certificate, or you have, something to show for it, then highlight it. If it's not relevant, it's not relevant. I hope that makes a little bit more sense, that you don't always have to go back and show everything that you've ever done. It's just, what is the experience that you have to make you the best candidate?
Great. So with that, how do you handle if you've been furloughed, if you plan to possibly go back to the company when recalled, but you're still looking at your other options? What do you recommend?
Yeah, I think in my career, there's been times where I've been at a company that, wasn't really a great fit. And I would just, get on the phone with different recruiters and have conversations with them. And even though I was still employed, I was letting them know, hey, I'm looking for a better opportunity. I have the skill sets that, are needed at these types of organizations, and I want to get after it. If you're furloughed, maybe, you're gonna, on your resume, you're gonna have the information of what company you're still working at. Being furloughed is technically you're able to keep that information there, but I would apply. And if it comes up on during the interview, you're able to say, yeah, this company's doing furloughed. I don't know what the status is. I'm a hardworking individual. I want to get back to work. Sitting around isn't my thing. I would love to join your organization. And again, kind of spin it in that positive light to just say, I don't like the unknown and I really want to work for your organization and take a chance with me. So that's something that you're able to do is just kind of bring it up in conversation, but maybe not highlight it on a resume so it stands out and could be a red flag.
Great. It looks like we've got one more question real quick. Are there certain industries or positions that you recommend for military spouses as they're job searching?
I do not, because I don't want to pigeonhole any military spouse into what organization or what type of position would be best. I think it really just comes down to the individual. I think it comes down to you can just type in keywords, military spouse. You can go to find companies and type in military spouse and see what comes up. I think you really want to tap into the resources that you have. I know Hiring Our Heroes has a great military spouse kind of contingent and a part of their organization. We're working with them on a survey to find out exactly what military spouses are doing. So that's something to tap into. And that's, coming down the pipe, you should have a lot more research on this topic. So we're able to give those informed decisions. But where you saw the data of what veterans are clicking on, it's hard to find the data on what military spouses are clicking on and applying to, given that we're not capturing that information in their profiles.
So hopefully coming soon, right?
Yes.
All right.
But tap into Hiring Our Heroes. They have their military spouse program is top notch, and we work with them closely. And they definitely have a lot of information on that.
Yes. Thank you for the plug. Appreciate it. So Drew, thank you so much for joining us today. A lot of great information. A reminder to everyone who joined to visit our career community website, which is shown here at the bottom, hiringourheroes.org/career community. And you'll see this video will be posted in a couple days from this session. And you'll be able to rewatch it for any of those nuggets of advice that you want to brush up on again. So Drew, unless you have anything else, I think we're going to call it a day here.
Yeah, no, thank you, everyone. You can always find me on LinkedIn if you have any questions or follow-up questions that you would like answered. We're always here to help. Really appreciate the time and best of luck in your job search.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.